Good morning. We have our quiz review here for tomorrow. We're going to graph the slope-intercept form. We're going to graph the standard form, and we are going to do some factoring as well on that. This is kind of a review quiz. So let's review the review for the review, and yeah, let's check it out. So to graph the slope-intercept form, you look at the number at the end first. That's your intercept, and put a point there. So I'm going to put a point at -1. Now, the way we do this by hand and the way Carnegie does it is a little differently. For me, I'm going to say go up 5 and to the right 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my second point. So from the point you put, go up 5 and over 7. We're going to draw a dashed line and shade below because it's less than that line. One important thing to note is that when you're doing these in Carnegie, Carnegie always says go over 1 and then up or down this far. So you can almost see here, and it kind of, you don't have to be perfect with it, but go over 1 and up the slope. So up 5/7 to right about there. And that's where Carnegie would have you put the second point, and then it fills it in from there. So just wanted to note a difference. Someone pointed that out yesterday. They said, hey, this is doing this differently, and that's what it's doing. So keep an eye on that. I'll go ahead and try the rest of these slope intercepts. I'm just going to pause the video here. Alrighty, let's look at this one here. So for standard form, we find basically the intercepts. We put in 0 for each, get rid of each one, and solve the inequality with the other one. So I'm going to say 3x is greater than 11, and -4y is greater than 11. And then some of these won't come out evenly. That's okay. 11 divided by 3 is 3.7. We are graphing on a graph. If you don't need any more than one decimal place. I can't graph this any better than I can graph, if I put 3 decimals here, that doesn't help me on the graph. So that's why I'm not worrying too much about that. 11 divided by 4 gives me 2.75. I'm dividing by a negative here, dividing by a -4. So y is less than, change the sign, -2.75. So on the x-axis, go to 3.7. On the y-axis, go to -2, and then a little extra, almost to -3. It's going to be a dashed line. Beautiful. And let me see here. Am I going to go? Well, x is greater than means go to the right. Y is less than means go down. And both to the right and down is this area here. Really, you only need to think about one of the letters, and we're used to looking at the y anyway. So you can just use the y and say, hey, I'm going to shade down. Okay, I'll give you a minute or two on that. I'm just going to pause the video. Go ahead and crunch those out. And finally, some factoring. Let's do these 3 right here, as that's an example of each of the types that we talked about. And I was in the library this morning with Mr. Dennison, and there was a student in pre-calculus who was just complaining that she was doing everything right except for the factoring. This is an incredibly important skill, and if you don't get it now, you are going to be held up by it for the rest of your mathematical life. And the longer your mathematical life, the more money you will probably make. Just to let you know. So numbers that multiply to 40 and add to 6, that's going to be 4 and 10. With 40, you have a number of options. But if you go with 4 and 10, that will give you 6. Because the 40 is negative, the signs have to be different. A positive times a negative, or a negative times a positive. Because the 6 is positive, make the bigger number positive. Because the 6 is positive, make the bigger number positive, and the other number negative. -4 times 10 is -40. -4 plus 10 is 6. Beautiful. Number 4 is a difference of squares. That's 7 and take half the exponent. So 7g to the first power, or just 7g, and 10a. 7g, 10a, 7g, 10a, bada bing, bada boom, plus and minus. Beautiful. I'm not suggesting that you sing. I am suggesting that it's not too bad. The last type is when there is a number in front of your squared term. When you have that, the first step is to multiply the 2 and the 3 to get 6. You need numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 7, and that's going to be 6 and 1. Fill in the grid. The b squared term goes there. The constant term goes there. We call that the constant term if it doesn't have a variable on it. And the linear term, the 7b, break that up into 6 and 1. Okay, numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 7 are 1 and 6. Now, factor like your life depends on it. To be or not to be. And let me see. Everything works out. Okay, so 2b plus 1 and b plus 3. Can you see that? Nope. Let me just write it down here. And b plus 3 is the other one. Let me scratch that out. Okay, so there's one of each. We've been practicing this for a couple of days. Hopefully you feel better about it than you did before. We'll re-quiz on it for this tomorrow. It's going to look just like what I showed you here. The graphs will be essentially the same size, the same types of problems. So go ahead and burn some calories here. Do some good work. Peace be with you.